Are you alive and awake? I'm alive. I don't know about awake. That was quite the trip to Ukraine. That video was made for us. It was showed to us Wednesday night, which was our last night in camp, by the camp people themselves. That was the videos and the pictures they had taken, not the videos, but the pictures they had taken around camp. And if you didn't recognize King Neptune there, it was the guy with the trident, that was Jared Meyer, our very own Jared Meyer. Played an excellent King Neptune. It wasn't even Neptune Day. It was actually a fashion show. So we had a lot of fun, a lot of good things happened, and I hope to embarrass Jared and myself further here in just a few minutes. I'm going to start off today. Something I read when I was over there, and I got to thinking about it. It was a story about how in Houston, Texas, they have this book writing seminar once a year. And in this seminar, people from all around the United States, all around the world gather, and they have speakers for this seminar. They're authors or publishers and editors, and they talk about how to write books, what books to write, what things not to write, how to get started. And it's for all sorts of people that are interested in learning to be writers or people that are writers. Well, in one seminar, there was this famous author, and somebody asked him a question. It was kind of a forum kind of thing. And they asked him the question, they said, "What book should I write? I want to write a book. What book should I write?" And the author said, "Write the book you want to read. Write the book you want to see on the bookshelf. The book that you think, when you looked at the bookshelf and said, that's an interesting book, I would buy that book. Write that book. Because it doesn't matter if everybody else doesn't want it. At least one person wanted that book. And you're guaranteed at least one sale, right?" So I found this kind of interesting. I was thinking about it while we were in camp, and I started kind of relating it to our Christian life. And I got to thinking, have I been writing the book that I want to read in my life? Have I really been writing the book? Have I really been living life the way I want it to reflect? If somebody saw it there on the shelf. So with our team in Jasterbach this year, I wondered about that same question. And I asked them last Sunday the same question. Are we writing the book that we want to read in camp? And I got to thinking about it even deeper, and I thought, really, the question we should be asking is, are we writing the book we want God to read? Because ultimately, He's the one that we're trying to please. Are we writing the book that we want God to read? As I pondered these questions, I came across the following scripture in my daily devotions. Luke 6, verses 27 through 36. Luke 6, starting in verse 27, says, "But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you, and from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return. And your reward will be great. And you will be sons of the Most High, for He is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful." I thought about that for a while, and I thought, what are you talking about, God? Why does this keep popping up in my own daily devotionals? This doesn't have anything to do with the question that I was pondering. What does this have to do with the book that I'm trying to write? What does this part of the Sermon on the Mount have to do with our team in camp? I mean, we're not dealing with enemies. We're there with a bunch of children. We're not lending them things, we're giving them things. I couldn't figure out what he was trying to tell me. And I figured this is one of those times that I was just not going to understand the message that God was trying to tell me. You know, it's one of those times that, you expect that when you get to heaven, God's going to reveal the mystery and you're going to go, oh, that's what you meant. I totally missed it. I figured, I am not going to get this. And so I kind of went on thinking about the book that I was trying to write. So I sat down to write this sermon and write the book of Jasterbach, 2013. And I thought, catchy titles and metaphors that might work together to go with them. I felt these were the story of Jasterbach, the story I wanted to read, the story I wanted you guys to hear, and the story God wanted to read. The first idea I came up with was the Magnificent Seven. I wanted the music to play, but Sandra she said no. But I thought it'd be great, the Magnificent Seven. You guys remember the old Western, Magnificent Seven, right? So the team made up of renegades, outlaws, and rogues enters Camp Jasterbach to set out to seek out justice. Through a series of fast acts and heroic triumphs, the seven win over the camp for Jesus, saving them from the evil tyranny of those who would oppress them. Great story. Great story. I thought that sounded like a wonderful story. And I would have read that story. That would have been a good story. But God brought back Luke 6. He said, no, Robert, you're not listening. Why do you keep bringing this up, God? This is not the story. It just doesn't even fit. So I thought, well, maybe God has a point. We were the Magnificent Seven, but plus 7 translators, so it's more like the Magnificent 14. Some of us weren't so magnificent, maybe, but we were 14, and we'd look back and the translators worked 10 times harder than we did. Every day trying to explain why the Americans were loud and silly and why we kept complaining about the food and the heat, the lack of roads and sidewalks. And here's a picture of us being silly. And I thought, okay, so maybe we weren't so magnificent. So maybe that's not the story. So I thought, well, maybe the story should be the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, this one practically wrote itself. I thought, yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It'd star us doing good for the camp. We'd be spreading the gospel, spreading the word of God. We were going to hand out Bibles, so that was easy. I mean, we handed out Bibles. We handed out Bibles to children and to staff and to anybody who would take them. We had 360 sets of Bibles. Each set contained 3 Bibles, a children's Bible, a teen Bible, and an adult Bible. And each set contained 3 study guides. So that's 6 books that we were handing out to 360 kids and staff. And then if you carry the 1 and you subtract the 3, Ken, does the dividend go on the top or the bottom? And don't worry about it anyways. It's a large number. We handed out a lot of books. A lot of books. And people were really grateful. That was the good. Yeah, this story was right in itself. I thought, okay, so the bad. The bad was easy. Buckwheat and liver. Now that happens to be mashed potatoes, so this was a good day. But that is liver. Apparently in Ukraine they have a cow with a giant, enormous liver. Because we had buckwheat, mashed potatoes, or noodles and liver almost every meal.
Oh, I was just about to say, I thought that was steak. I'm all...
Not steak. Not steak.
Food right there.
Yeah. That would have been something had it been steak. Yeah, no, it was liver, and we got that. That was breakfast. You're looking at breakfast. I'm not kidding you. That was also lunch, and that was also dinner. That was easy. The bad was easy. Breakfast and buckwheat and just liver. And it was so bad the translators hated it too, which is kind of rare. Actually, at one point, the translators told the cooks, the Americans really don't like liver. And the cook said, yeah, we noticed that. More liver. So they noticed. That was the bad. But that, you know what? I don't know if that was as bad as the hotel in Donetsk. Huh, Jared? The hotel in Donetsk, and I don't have a picture of it. The hotel in Donetsk was nice. It had air conditioning. Jared and I set it at 16 degrees Celsius. That's like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It was nice. It was as low as it would go. The problem with the hotel in Donetsk was it was on the 3rd story. No elevator. 3 guys, 14 bags, each weighing 50 pounds, 3 stories. Ken, if a train leaves Donetsk and is traveling at 150 miles per hour and one leaves Denver at 95 miles per hour, what is the cotangent of a radius of 30 degrees? Yeah, Ken's not real good at math either, so we were struggling with the math, but it was bad. I mean, at the end, Jared and even Valerie, who's in really good shape, and myself, who's in extraordinary great shape, we were dying. I mean, my knees hurt so bad. My legs were wobbling. I thought I'd run like a 10K. It was... And then Valerie looks at me and says, hey, Robert, that same bus is coming back to pick us up in the morning, and it's a private bus. I said, yeah? He goes, we probably could have left all the bags on the bus. Yeah, it was bad. I said, thank you, Valerie. I am convinced that E.M., Jesse, and Valerie are trying to make all the team members lose weight. Lots of weight, because we weren't eating the liver and we were exercising a lot. That was pretty bad. But now for the ugly. And well, there was this. I am apparently a police officer that is a Knights Templar cross-dresser wearing a bow tie. And I don't know what Jared was doing. He picked his own costume. So this is what they called comic soccer. And this probably was the single most ugliest thing that we did when we were there. But he did help us connect to the camp and to the kids. But it was single-handedly the most ugliest thing I've ever done. It was supposed to be soccer. It quickly became a rugby match. But you notice I'm carrying a ball. And yes, freight train. I was getting there. It's actually in my sermon. It quickly turned into rugby with forward passing and kicking and biting and all sorts of stuff. I think I actually hurt a few children. I actually scored on this, believe it or not. That's a lot of kids. Like I said, I'm really great shape, but I did actually score on this. But I think I may have hurt a few children during the game, and I was nicknamed the freight train at one point. Then it was quickly turned to the woolly mammoth. And then finally, Risha Gramila. For those that speak Russian, the red giant. And that one stuck the rest of camp. And actually, between Valeria and I, we kind of lived up to that and actually almost broke some kid's hand in volleyball. But I was called the red giant. Yeah, between the name calling and mine and Jared's costumes, that was an ugly day. That would be the ugly. So we had the good, the bad, and the ugly. I thought this story was writing itself. Everything was going good. But I got to ask you guys, has anyone ever felt like they had something all worked out, something all figured out, and then God throws you a curveball? That's kind of what happened to me. He showed me Luke 6 again. And I said, God, it doesn't fit. And he said, yeah, it does. Read it again. So for like the fourth time on this trip, I'm reading Luke 6 going, how in the world does this fit? So I go back through it and I say, but I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To the one who strikes you in the cheek, offer the other also. And from the one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. I'm going, God, nobody struck us, nobody hurt us, there's no enemies here. It doesn't fit. And I read on, give to everyone who begs from you, and from everyone who takes from you your goods, do not demand them back. Nobody took anything from us. We gave everything. Everything we took, we gave for free. In fact, one of the counselors in the camp was shocked. She asked Valerie, how much do the Americans make coming over here doing this? How much do they get paid? And Valerie said, they don't get paid at all. They pay a lot of money to do this for the camp. And she said, why? Why? Interesting. And moving on in verse 32, I'm reading, it says, if you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do those things. Well, we love those in the camp that didn't even love us. We love those in town that tried to run us over. We happen to be the camp director, but that's okay. He had a very nice car. But we love those who he hated us. I mean, but I didn't see how it fit. I mean, it was easy. The camp was pretty happy that we were there. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. Well, yeah, we were doing good to those in the camp, and they were doing the best they could. We did get birthday cake on one day for somebody who had a birthday. They did keep feeding us liver, but that was, probably because of budget constraints, I'm sure. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? For even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great. And you will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. And I'm going, God, it just doesn't make sense. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. And I stopped and I thought about it for a minute. Is that really it, God? I really understood for a minute. what it was about. The story from Luke 6, 27 through 36, isn't about how we're supposed to act as Christians. It's not about all these details about lending and borrowing and giving and turning the other cheek. There's a bigger message there. I said, God, does it really just come down to that? Really? And I opened the book He wanted me to read. And there it was, the whole story in just 2 words. Not even a complete sentence by American English standards, but 2 words that summarized Luke 6, 27 through 36 and Yastrobach Camp. The same 2 words for 2 very different things in my mind. The book God wanted written, the book God was writing while we were in Yastrobach, that I'd failed to notice, was just simply love wins. Love wins in the end. He tells us to defeat our enemies with love. And we shared His love with the campers and the staff and anyone who would listen. It all came down to love wins. Simple yet somehow difficult to grasp in our minds. It did not matter if we forgot our markers for class, right, Jared? 3 times, right, Jared? Didn't matter if we hated the food, right, guys? I mean, it was bad.
We gave thanks anyway because it made us lose weight.
It made us lose weight. And it didn't matter that the 14 of us plus about 10 other people from the camp all shared 1 shower. It didn't matter. I mean, there was nights it was 1 o'clock in the morning, I was waiting, I just finally went to sleep. It didn't matter if we complained about the heat or the walking, especially the 3-kilometer trek to the river that turned out to be 6 one way and 6 the other way. These things did not matter on the final day in camp when the kids gathered around us and they hugged us and they said, please don't go. Please don't go. We love you so much, Americans. And we responded with tears in our eyes and we said, we love you too. We love you with the love of God. The kids understood. The kids know who God is. And they showed us the true lesson that is no matter who you are, where you're from, what language you speak, how funny you look, how strange you might dress, or how many mistakes you make, love wins. The story of Yastrobach and Team Love Wins this year is just simply that love wins. Love wins, especially when we allow Christ to live out through us. Because our God isn't dead. Our God is alive. Not only did we see Him in that camp, but we felt His ever-presence in our daily lives. We were pushed, we were tested, we were challenged. One of the translators said, and I didn't totally agree with him, but I thought it was a good point at the time. He said, God does 3 things through us. He punishes us, He tests us, and He blesses us. He said, when things happen, the choice is yours. Was it a punishment? Was it a testing? Or was it a blessing? In the end, the Ukraine trip had to have been a blessing because Christ lived through us. So.